So yeah, we're gonna do this available feature. So this will be in progress. Go ahead and move that to done. And yeah, so all of these are going to be the same, similar where, and this is just kind of how I kind of decided to do this, is these steps of, doing the link, setting up the page, getting the data, doing the UI, normalizing, and then hooking it up and testing. But let's pretend, just for argument's sake, because the back end part of this is done, but let's pretend like it's not done. But let's pretend like, the back end, or like the back end person told me, hey, if I do a GET request, I'm going to get data that looks like this. So I at least know that much. Does that make sense? Because this might happen to you where, like, it's not like they're going to like get the back end done and then you do the front end. Sometimes this stuff can happen side by side, where like your back end person's working on, building the API and you're working on building out the client. But we're going to see, like, if we have this amount of information, even with the back end not working, we can get this like essentially done. And kind of show you what I mean by that. Okay. So just to kind of go through my flow, I'm starting on this new task. So I do a get pull origin master. And I can do a get checkout -b. I'll just call this front end available. Client. Okay. Let's get this up and running. Let me just add some tasks too before, because I wanted to do this when I was on the Bootstrap thing. Just as like I don't want to do this now, but I just want to make the note, like, I'm just going to say Bootstrap navbar. Like eventually I'm going to want to like do that and like Bootstrap logout forms. Because now that I've added Bootstrap and we've decided to use Bootstrap, I'm going to want to like make those components have like Bootstrap styling. I'm not going to do that right now, but I wanted to make that mental note just so they're there in my backlog. All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and start working on this. So I also might, as I'm working on this, I think a thing that would also be nice to just have up is the wireframe. It's not going to hurt just to kind of see what that looks like. Once again, this is Heroku just taking its sweet time to load it up. Probably takes like 20 seconds. Okay. Come on now. All right, I'm getting impatient. So let's do this. Let's go to my client folder, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add in my source. Let's just do this in my components. Maybe I am going to do a new folder, just call this pages. Let's do a file. Let's call this available. That's how you spell available, right? Let's make this React component. Okay, I'm going to reorganize these two. So there's that page. So now I'm going to add this to my index as a, or to my app as a route. For now, we don't need to really protect this. It doesn't, we'll maybe down the road protect this, but I don't really care right now if this is protected or not. So let's just not have to deal with authentication right now. All right, so there's my path and added that route to it. So now I can just go ahead and maybe add a link to it for my nav bar. Available. Yeah, I don't need that home component anymore. So that's that first step. Now I have a link and I have this page for available. Now, this is maybe a little overkill, but it kind of, one of the things we want to do with like committing or where you can work, it's a good idea to commit is like if you do like a good chunk of work and then you get it to a working spot. So I would say this is probably a bit much, like we didn't do that much work, but we could say, let's say that feature took a little longer to get like navigation set up. It was a chunk of work and it was kind of like one of my sections. I could maybe do a get add, get commit here. There's really no harm in overcommitting. So now like I know because it's at like a working state and then I'm kind of moving on to like my next step. Get data, Axios call. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you could use your like use Axios hook or use Axios hook on mount. But for this one, I'm just going to do it the good old fashioned way where we grab the use state hook. Suspect. React. And then we can do like the const. I don't know, should I just call this properties, set properties? I don't know, maybe I want to call this like agent properties. Is that really what this is going to be? It's like a list of agent properties or like available properties. State, that's going to be an empty array. And now I'm going to do my use effect. We'll just call this get agent properties or something. Stuff gets a lot more harder to name when like because we're not just getting we're getting like a mix of like tables. So it kind of gets a little harder to name stuff because it's like, what are we getting? It's like a mix of like the properties and agent and address information that are available. Like I could even maybe be more specific and be like, get agent available or get agents available properties. But we'll just call this agents properties. All right, const get agents properties. This is going to be an async call, or an async function, I should say. I'm going to do a try catch. Let res equal await. Axios.get / API / available. But I'm going to make this broken. I'm going to pretend like this is not working. Because what I want to show is like, how can we, as the front end, do all the work that we need to do without the back end actually being available. Right? Well, this is where it's useful if I know what the API is going to be. So like I said, we talked about this with the back end person and like stand up. Maybe this was something we discussed in stand up meeting. The back end person's like, hey, if you do a get request to API properties, you're going to get back this data. So, I shouldn't call this available. This was actually properties, right? I'm going to misspell it so it doesn't work. But now I know, like, okay, I do a get request here. And then this should give me back this data. So what I can do is I can create like some const like dummy agent properties up here. That's just going to be an array with all of this stuff. And I can come in here and I can like hard code some like things. Now this takes a little bit of time, and this is kind of like going to be like work I'm going to throw away, but it's useful because now I can like start I can do the majority of the work without actually having real data. So what I'm going to do, and I'll come in, I'll create a couple of these properties. So what I'm kind of expecting this to look like, so the property ID should be different. The price should be different. But I might have agent in here, multiple times. So I could have like the same agent information with different property information. But then I could also have like, I'm trying to think like what is the least amount of fake data I can create where I can kind of start to get my UI settled. So here's what I'm saying. I have like so I'm going to have like 4 properties. And then 2 agents. So each agent's going to have 2 properties. And then this is how my, that's my fake data. And I'll slack this out. I think let me just like, I think I'll do this and then maybe once this is done, it'll kind of start to sink in. Now what's going on here? Why I'm doing this. Because what I could do is I could say right here, I want to set agent properties to be res.data. I could do like a console log, you know, error occurred. And then just for now, let's just do our like simple, just the JSON.stringify is just really kind of like a testing method. Okay. So this is stuff we've done quite a bit, but let's look at like why am I creating this fake data? So let's go to available. I'm going to inspect 404. I'm getting that 404. I should maybe do like an alert too, so I can see it.
You could use Faker and make this a whole lot faster, right? You're just essentially doing what Faker would do.
I can't use, well, Faker is a gem.
Oh, that's yeah, okay.
I could
Thing like it for React.
probably, I don't know how much time that would have saved. I just need, I don't know if it would have saved any more time. There's definitely probably something I could do. But yeah, I really don't know if it would save that much time.
Okay.
But okay, so because here's what like, so we have like, I know now I've kind of testing like, you know, I have some basic error handling. It's not that great, but I can, as the front end, even without having a back end, I can like test some stuff. I can be like, oh, you know, where is my alert not showing? Oh, because I said alert. Now here's all the work I can do on my back end without having a front end. You know, I could do my error handling. I could do like could even do loading. By default, I want that to be true. So I could do something like this, like if loading, you know, like spinner here. So my spinner's there, and then there's my error. So I'm like, I'm able to do like, you know, figure out this UI, even though backend's not up. Let's refresh. Why is my spinner there? Come on, set loading to, oh, false. So I'm coming in here, false. Okay. So we have like our error, and you could imagine I could go in and like make this spinner nice. I could do more error handling. I can keep on going. But the reason why I'm creating this fake data is because what I could do is in my error, let's just simulate, like I could simulate or, you know, pretend API is working. And then like I'll leave a note like to do, remove when hooked up to working API. But here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to remove this eventually, but I'm going to right here, I'm going to set my agent's properties to that dummy data. And I'm also going to get rid of this like error handling. And then maybe I'll leave a note like to do on comment. So I'm going to kind of get rid of my error handling and comment it out, but leave like a note, hey, like uncomment this when we actually get it working. Cool. So now when I hit refresh, I have the loading. It's really fast because I'm not even loading anything. But and now I have my agents. And now I have my data. And since my backend is actually working, I can just show you this. Like, so when I do get this working, all I need to do, let's just pretend like the backend person got this working. Oh. Does that make sense? Like I set up my front end to work whether or not the backend's working. If the backend's working, okay, I get this dummy data. If the backend is working, I actually get the data from the backend. Cool. Let's just pretend like it's not working. But now I can go through and I can do all the rest of those steps. So this could be a way like when you like, working with a team, because this actually happened to me when I was like at first at Teleperformance, I was like, well, they wanted me to build out all this front end and there wasn't a back end. And I was like, well, how do you want me to build out the front end if I don't have any actual API calls working? Well, they're like it doesn't matter if it's not working. Here's the API call and here's what the data is going to look like. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I can get it working. I can just use some hard-coded data for now. Now, if they didn't tell you how the data was going to come back from the API call, that's going to be a little more challenging, right? But I could, even if they didn't, I could still go through and I could like start building out some wireframe, like start coding out this. So let's do this part next. So we've done step 1, we've done step 2. So now we're going to go to this third step. And this is like a recommendation that we do this in Code Sandbox. As our UIs get more complicated, I think it can be nice just to figure out how to get the UI working. So let's kind of think about that. So I don't really care. And I'm going to once again just use hard-coded data. I'm not going to use this hard-coded data because this is not going to play well with Bootstrap. And I think you're going to see what I mean in 1 second. So let's just go to Bootstrap. And we'll say with these wireframes, we don't have to be like exact, but we could maybe try to do something like this where we have like an agent information and then a table. Let's kind of try to maybe follow that rough outline. So I go to Bootstrap. And then I'm going to go to Code Sandbox as well. Code Sandbox. Let's see if I can search one. That's already has like React Bootstrap. This is the one thing I really hate about their documentation is why don't they just have links to these? Maybe they do have one and they're getting started. Ah, here we go. Perfect. So React Bootstrap has started a repo with a few basic code sandbox examples. Click here to check them out. Okay, I'm going to open this in a new link and then I'll Slack this out. This is nice because then it'll have like, we don't have to do that setup process again of like setting up, adding the library, adding the index.css. So I'm going to want like maybe this one, the basic, but I want example version 5 because that's what we're using.
There's one with React Router Bootstrap already installed.
That's cool. I don't need, like, I kind of want to keep this simpler. So the React Router Bootstrap one would probably be good if we were doing like the nav bar. But for this, I just want something simple. And I'm actually probably going to make it more simple. Get rid of all of this stuff. Starter. I don't even care about this. Cool. Why does it not say H1? Where's my header? I'll refresh. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this to be React Bootstrap Starter. Let that break it. Refresh it. Seemed like renaming it maybe broke it. Okay. And then I might even like throw this link in my projects. So I have a quick way to find this because I just want like a code sandbox that I can get up and running pretty quick. I actually I almost don't want to use React Bootstrap because they don't, a lot of the other documentations, like they have the examples and then they have like a link to like a code sandbox. It's really nice. You just click on it and there's the code and you can start kind of interacting with it, but not here. So cool. So but this just gives me away because now with this starter, I can create a fork. And I'm just going to rename this to like available. Cool. So I fork it. So think of forking as like, it's kind of like creating a copy of it. And now I can start working on this. Refresh. Cool. So now I got myself a nice little sandbox of just where I'm just trying to figure out how to do this UI. Once again, it's kind of this process of taking a complicated, like we're just taking this complicated app, breaking it into like an available front end feature. And then with that front end feature, I'm breaking that up into a problem of just like, how do I just create this UI? Cool. So then with this part, I could be like, well, that UI is going to consist of two things. It's like a list of tables. Right? That's what I want to build here. It's like a list of tables. So I could do one of two things first. I could figure out, like, I need to figure out how to do a list, and then I need to figure out how to do a table. I need to figure out how to combine them. Cool. So now I go through the React Bootstrap, and let's go to their components. Looks like they have a list group.
They also have a tables group.
They have a tables group. Let's look at the table. Do they have a group of tables? Yeah, table group. That looks like multiple tables, but that's, I don't know if that's quite what I want. Do they have a table group?
The very first example kind of looks like your,
This one?
yeah.
Yeah, so this would be, yeah, that's like one table. So that, this is going to be close. I'm going to need, so I could take this. So yeah, let's just grab this table. Throw it inside of here. I need to import table. You just have to like refresh this. Cool. There's that table component, but I want like a lot of these, but I also like want them in a list of tables. So that's why I want like the list. So then I come in here, I grab the list. This one. Let's maybe do something fancy like this. I don't know, maybe we can do something with like, this one kind of looks a little nice. We can maybe do, you know, like some badge and then like the agent name and then the agent email. So you kind of like look at their examples and then think like, well, how could I make this work for mine? So let's go ahead with that one. I need to import like a list group. I also need a badge. So yeah, what I'm thinking is, you know, the subheading that can be like the agent name. This could be like the email. And this can maybe be like the count, like property count. And let's just have two of them. This is part of the reason why I like doing this in Code Sandbox is because like you can make these changes quick and like see the changes quick. But you see what I mean? Like I'm trying to get it to work without like real data. I'm just like coming in here and just like hard coding the data. Cool. So now I have a list and then I have a table. Well, now I want to figure out Well, how do I throw that table in the list? Let's throw it right here. Because this is where you like start to get into like, oh man, I don't want that right there. You see what I'm trying to do now? This is where this can be a pain. I hate how they use class names.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get it look like this, where I have the agent information up top, and then now we actually have like a account, and then I have the properties, like my table property.
Can
And
you
then
do,
I have another agent and then that agent's properties.
can you do like a break or something like that?
Hmm. They're using, yeah, I don't like how they're using all these like, I would honestly not use Bootstrap. That's just my, okay, so I'm gonna do a list item. So maybe I need to go in and look at like their, like what can a list do? What do I have? List group item. Okay, maybe I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a list group item. So I'm gonna take that back to the way it was. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another list group item component. So this list group item is going to be this information. And then, come on, is there not, can I not do like a sub? Oh. All right. Now this is just making me do a whole bunch of CSS, which I hate. That's why I'm using you. I don't want to do CSS. Okay, so I'm going to do this in a div because now like I have to know like this is now like I'm doing Flexbox stuff. And then I have to deal with their classes. Like, what a disaster. Okay. Yeah, I would. This seems like I need more like knowledge of Bootstrap than React. Like, and I don't like that. I used to be very good with Bootstrap, but I hated it. Because you have to like know like how to like just style something, you give it just a whole bunch of class names, and it's like, what? Okay. So we'll figure it out though. If you want to, you can take a break, or you can try this on your own. But this is, and I'll select that out. But this is like the pain of like the UI. Like I think so far we've been creating like, we get a nice, we want like a list of things, but, and it's like, you know, pretty simple, but now our UIs are going to get a little more complicated. Like I want a list of tables. I want a table of videos, or, you know, where we have to go in and build this out a little more. So what I also might do is just take a simple, maybe I got ahead of myself. This can be another good idea, is just don't make it so complicated at the start and then make it more complicated. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Oh, I didn't want to get rid of my table. Where'd my table go? Oh. Okay, so I take this, I'm going to take this list group. Let's just kind of start over. This would be like agent 1. Agent 2. Maybe I'm going to put this as like a header. Making progress. And then now I can get the table. It's cool. You can do like VS Code commands on that. I did a Command Shift P just out of habit on, so I'm on Code Sandbox, and that like brought up the VS Code options. And then I could format document. That's pretty cool. Sweet. So now I have, I'm getting closer, right? I have that list of agents and then the tables. And then, you know, I don't care about the number, so I could just do, and then I can look at like my front end and, you know, then make my table look how I want it. So I have price, beds, baths, square footage. So let's just do that. Price, beds, baths, square footage. We're gonna have some more. We have street, city, and zip. And then, yeah, it looks like I would need, you know, like a price here. I just kind of fake this to. But this is just so much easier to do this in Code Sandbox than it is in your project. You can do it. You could do this in your project. It's just going to take a lot more time. Then I'm like, oh, these are table rows. Well, let's just go ahead and do like 2 of these.
So you're hard coding it, but is there eventually a way to, from the back end, make it get inputted in the table, and every time you create a new property or anything, it'll get inputted into the table for you?
Oh yeah,
Just
I
how
mean,
you
we're going to have to do that, but this is it. Once again, it's really just about breaking this up into like little tasks. Because you saw me, like I struggled with this. I was like, man, I don't know how to do this. And now I have it kind of working. Like I could maybe now figure out how to add like in here. Like it's nice I don't have to be doing this with like an Axios call, and like we haven't even got into like normalizing data yet. That kind of thing. So I can, right now it's just nice because I'm just worrying about like the UI. I don't care about anything else. Because the UI can be like, you know, a pain. Just getting it to look the way you want it to look. that is not easy. Like, because you run into stuff like this. It's like, what the hell? So I'm not going to worry. I'm going to not worry about that for now. So let's just leave it like this. Down the road, we can, you know, maybe work on this later, but I could on this styling more with a badge. But this can be nice now. Also that I have this code sandbox, I can take this link. I can throw it in my Trello card. So if I do want to go try to update my UI, now I have that link in here. And then I can go mess around with it. But let's take a break. So we're still kind of not done with this step. But let's take a break. We'll come back at, let's just call it it's 12 o'clock, and then we'll go from there. And I select out that sandbox too. So that should be, if you want this code, that should be out in the sandbox.
So the other day I was trying to use Bootstrap for my nav bar and I was really struggling. So that's normal. Like it's not easy to do, basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't like the nav bars.
I was struggling with that for a while.
Well, I had a really hard time with the left and right, implementing the left and right part of it into it. The nav bar.
The UI can be, yeah, like UI can be very hard. That's why I like to like make it its own separate thing. Because then I can just go like not doing an Axios call. I'm not getting like, it's just the UI part. And this just is me just trying to figure out, you know, the Bootstrap stuff.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I didn't think about using Code Sandbox, so this is really helpful.
I would do this all the time, like with, there's also like CodePen. I did this all the time at Teleperformance where like I would try to figure out how to like you design something or like just a small little tiny feature. Am I logged in?
Yeah, and then also with us being new, it helps us see what code is doing really easily.
Yeah, I wonder if I can like, I wonder if I can find like some of the stuff I tried to do. Oh, I don't know if like this is the right account. I don't think this is the right account. But yeah, I might, you know, you could do like, how do I do it? This might have been an example we did. But it's just nice because you could just break it down. It's kind of like stepping into like Rails console. And you can just like figure out like, how do I sort in an array? It's like, how do I get a 3x2 grid in CSS?
Oh yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, I would definitely, I think if you got good with Bootstrap, you know, this might add some time, but I think especially when you're like working with a new component library, this is the way to do it. And it's what I was talking about, like other ones like Ant Design. This like, I don't know, like using Bootstrap, I'm like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
But like this, it's like, here's the component. They have like a link right here, Code Sandbox link. And then you get the code of like this thing and it's all built out. Like, and they have like console.log set up. So it's like showing you how it's working. And then
Yeah.
you can go in there and then like make the changes.
Nice. Yep.
It's cool. This is the one I'm used to using, and maybe I really like this one because it's like the documentation on this is so good. Because they have like just so many working examples that you can either just like show the code or you could go like look at it. I mean, React Bootstrap, I don't know. I'm not impressed. But
So they just have that copy button, and so you would just copy and paste. That's the same thing. That's how you would do it in Bootstrap instead of a
you mean like I-
instead of a sandbox that just opens automatically. You could copy and paste it into a sandbox. Is that what you did? I can't remember.
yeah, I copy and pasted it, but I don't
Okay.
know. Like it doesn't have the imports. It just has
Yeah.
and like I wonder, like, I think one thing that's like really big, if like that we'll see how this is like,
Yeah, because if it had had sandbox when I was trying to do my nav bar, it would have clicked it and been like, oh, nice, I can practice with it here. Like I would have seen that.
yeah,
Think about it otherwise.
like they don't have like, so on this form documentation, like they don't have, like, here's the submit button, but I hate when they do this. They have like, they don't show you how to handle the submit. It's like you have to come down here, like you have to go look at the docs. Like how,
I think that happened to me on mine. I got stuck on it for a while. I like, yeah, I kind of remember that.
yeah. Like how do you handle that submit? Like if I go to like, you know, the Ant design form, look at their code. You know, there's like, look at all these like, and they have even more like callbacks, like on finish failed. So you can do like, they've written all these like of their own custom callbacks that you can add.
Nice.
Yeah. So but this is good because like the one we go over in class, when it's like your portfolio project, I kind of want you to use a different component library. Because I think part of your, like part of the portfolio stuff is like, I want you to try to use libraries we haven't talked about in class. Just to get that experience of like you going in and like trying to figure out how to get stuff to work.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up relying on, you know, these third-party libraries so much in your career. It's like, that's, you got to get used to like, you know, it's nice because they get like 90% of the work done for you, but then there's like 10% that you got to like kind of figure out. So
Can you essentially like take different components of like the code from maybe React Bootstrap you like, and then create your own like file for saved commands, I guess? So then you don't have to rely on a boot or any other library. You create your essentially your own library.
yes, you could definitely create your own component library. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, without having to use any other third libraries. You just store over time all the things that you like in different components.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of places will do that. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, just, I mean, you could go look at like the Ant design, like if you go to their GitHub, it's just kind of like fun to come like look at like some of their components. It's like there's a button component. But you know, it doesn't like, Ant design's like really complicated because they're trying to be like super generic and reusable. And that just makes it, complicated. And they've been building it for like, Ant design was a thing when I was at DevPoint Lab. So it's been in here for like years. So, but yeah, a lot of companies do have their own component libraries. You just need the resources for that. Actually, I'm gonna hop off really quick just so I can pause the recording. I'll be right back.